Sweet,
can slide on cam, yeah, absolutely. You have your...
I didn't actually.
Oh, no worries, no
I didn't
worries.
have a chance to stop and bring all my fancy tools. So today, we're gonna do it the way our our forefathers did it.
Are you the first cigar smoker in your family?
Yeah, I'm probably the first like habitual cigar smoker. Like there's other members of my family that smoke and have smoked cigars, but I'm definitely the first one that's like, oh, I'm like a hobbyist. You know?
Yeah. I think I might be the first one that's ever smoked a cigar.
Like in general.
Yeah. I think that my granddad used to smoke like cheap old cigars because he was a cigarette smoker.
I got it.
He would smoke just kind of, cigars that you buy at the store. But yeah, first person that really enjoys cigars.
Now, do you subscribe to like the ritual of lighting your cigar?
Well, I think it's okay to like do it your own way.
Yeah.
But I enjoy that process, Like some people have like a 10-minute routine.
Yeah.
Smoking.
I know somebody who goes through like 5 or 6 different
matches,
like big matches,
yeah.
like to light their cigar. For me, I don't have that kind of time.
No, but
I do like to toast it though, for sure.
I'm also not somebody who just shoves it in their mouth.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let you slide on that one. Yeah, I do believe in toasting it at least a little bit. Mm-hmm. I've just found as my palate has gotten more sensitive, and I don't think I'm like a professional cigar smoker by any means, right?
Yeah.
But I think I've smoked enough now that I know what I like and what I don't like.
Yeah.
And as I've figured out my palate over the years, I do enjoy taking the time to toast it to start, and then actually getting into the cigar.
Yeah.
That being said, though, if I'm in a rush, or if I'm on like a beach or something, like if I'm just in a location where I can't really sit like this and like go through it, it's fine. You gotta do what you gotta do,
I agree. I'm increasingly finding though, I don't like doing anything else when I have a cigar.
Yeah.
And I don't like having a cigar doing anything else.
Yeah.
It's just like that excitement of that 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
Where I don't do anything.
Yeah.
I think that's so missing in today's world.
Yeah, I mean, most people would call that me time, right? Like it's a lot of Americans do not get a lot of me time. And yeah, you're right. I do tend to work a little bit while I smoke a cigar. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that when I'm smoking and working, I'm generally smoking a cigar that I'm really familiar with and a cigar that I really love, right? So for me, it's really easy to just, it's easy to just kind of be like, oh, I'm enjoying this, and then kind of get something else done. It's not necessarily decompression time. Mm-hmm. However, that being said, when I do get a chance to smoke in the evening, I do like to like literally be in my own world. So like oftentimes I'll just sit with usually some music, and when it's summertime, I like to sit in the park and there's a fountain near me. I just look at the fountain and just hang out. Yeah, it's pretty good.
There aren't many things that I think just complement doing nothing as well as smoking. For a lot of people, it's having a drink, right? That's like, for my parents growing up, I'd always see my mom and dad, come home, glass of wine, and that was their me time.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's cigars. Some people can just meditate for, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's their me time. I think there's something nice about it being a little bit naughty, though.
Yeah. You got to pick your vices.
It's rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I realize, you're young, I'm young. I look at these and I go, okay, this should not be a forever thing. Like, you shouldn't abuse this. But if you play it right, you can enjoy this for the rest of your life, And so you're right. Once a day or whatever, I think is perfectly fine, assuming you take care of yourself, and don't abuse, things.
I really don't think there's that much research on like exclusively cigar smoking for health either.
Yeah.
It gets lumped in with cigarettes, which we all understand.
2 different things.
Yeah, we all understand that they're very different, but we're not sure exactly how different. Like how much of it is just the smoke, tobacco, all the other chemicals, but hey, I don't do that many other things. Like if Ozzy Osbourne can live till 76.
Right. I've heard some crazy stories of cigar makers, in the Caribbean or whatever. They're on the cigar farms, and they have guys that'll taste the cigars. And these guys smoke so many cigars every day for decades, and they seem to be fine, right? At least from what word has gotten back to me. And so it's like, well, if these guys can go to the way extremes, if I generally try to take care of myself, I smoke good cigars. Again, you don't abuse it. I can't do like a 5 cigar a day type thing, but like 1, maybe 2, I should be okay.
If you could live as long as you want, what would what age would you choose to live to?
That's such a great question. I think that I would probably, I don't think anybody would ever want to live over like 150, 200 years old, to be honest with you. Because I think at that point, the psychological anguish of seeing so many people come and go and then so many things come and go, I think would mess with you a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
that's true. So much death.
Yeah,
as well.
that would really like weigh on me. It would be cool to see the world change around you, sure. Like I'd love to see what Chicago will look like in 200 years, you know what I mean? But I think once you reach a certain point, like it just means nothing anymore, right? Like these small blips in time, you just think about your own mortality and how it's just never ending at that point.
I think, around 100 would be great.
Yeah.
Which I don't think for our generation is that unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like if my grandma's 95, she grew up, with rationing, food poverty, asbestos, everyone smoked constantly.
Yeah.
So if people from that era can live till 95, then guys like us that wake up and drink electrolytes and
go to Sweet Green.
Yeah, exactly. Like we should live till a ridiculous age, really.
Yeah, in theory, but I wonder if it's just like, does it actually, all these choices we make, will they actually do anything? Or is our food, I mean, we know that our food supplies are like not necessarily the most healthy, like the American, food supply system.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, I'm like, will it actually matter? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I work out my hardest every day for the rest of my life, if I eat as clean as I want, will I have that dramatic of a life extension compared to if I, let's say I want to drink wine and smoke cigars every day. You know what I mean? Like, will it be that big of a difference?
It might be like, let's say it was 5 years.
Yeah.
If somebody said to me, you can live 5 years longer, but you can't ever drink or smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd take it, honestly.
I'm not taking that. No, I'm good.
I don't know. It also depends what is that quality of the 5 years. Is it 5 years spent in a nursing home,
Good point.
Can't even go to the bathroom by yourself? If it's 5 years of great health and vitality, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But one of the reasons why it's such a non-negotiable for me in dating as well is because I envision myself, like always in the morning, I always have my coffee outside, preferably. I always want to do that.
Yeah.
I always want to smoke a cigar in the evening for the rest of my life. So if I was with somebody that made that joyous, pleasurable thing a negative thing for me, it would just be like completely incompatible.
Yeah. I think that's I think that's a very fair ask. It's not, you could say, of all the things you could say that are non-negotiables, to be able to enjoy cigar at night, I think is perfectly fine. And I think that most partners understand the value of personal space, right? And so that is, obviously your personal space time, or maybe you'll meet somebody who might want to smoke with you from time to time and you guys can have your, like your parents, right? Have a conversation, talk about the day or whatever, So to me, that's perfectly fine. I think as I get older, I've gone through stages of smoking cigars, right? When I first got into the hobby, like anything, you like abuse your hobby when you first get into it, right? So I was smoking just a million cigars, smoking anything and everything. Now that I'm some years in, I've slowed down a lot more, not quite as often. I try to buy cigars for special occasions, so on and so forth. And I think as I get older, I want to take a more measured approach. So I'll be like, hey, I'm going to smoke cigars, whatever, twice a week or three times a week. And this is what I want to smoke when I do it. And so for me, it'll become more methodical of an approach to cigars. And I haven't met a partner that has had an issue with it. The people that I've dated, nobody's ever seemed to mind. They probably care more about your clothes smelling like smoke, but that's a very easy thing to navigate.
Yeah.
How
many non-negotiables do you think it's reasonable to expect? Because some people marry their childhood sweetheart and they never experience the dating thing. Some people go on looking for the right person for so long that they are 45 and single.
Yeah, fair.
When do you think is like enough expectation?
I don't know if there's like a fair rule of thumb for that, because I think it really comes down to you, right? And so for me, I don't have a long list of non-negotiables, right? Like mine are fairly simple. Yeah. And I think for people that I've dated, I don't really mind, the things that they're mentioning, assuming they're reasonable to me, right? And so if somebody has 30 things and you're like, that's a long list, if they're reasonable to you, who cares, or if somebody says one, it's all good, you know what I mean? So to me, I think it really comes down to what are you willing to accept are they reasonable, the things that you're asking and that they're asking? Yeah. And then what reality of the world do you live in, right?
That's true.
That may not be realistic what you're looking for. You know,
I think you have to only expect or, you know, set a standard of things that you're prepared to do the equivalent of as well.
Yeah.
Hold
100%.
yourself to the same standard that you expect of other people.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? Like there's certain things that just wouldn't make any sense, you know, and you can insert some sort of ridiculous claim, you know, that just might not be realistic in the world that you live in. And you have to understand you either need to go somewhere else or you need to change that expectation, you know, wherever you are. So for me, dating is all about, honestly, it's all about like compromise, right? Like figuring out, you know, here's my life and my lifestyle, here's this person's life and their lifestyle, and then how do we mesh together? And like, what are the areas where like I need to be like this? What are the areas we can be like this together, and vice versa, right? And so, people say dating is really hard, and I think it has some difficulties, but it all just comes down to like trying to communicate with people. Yeah. And I don't think many people are good communicators. I certainly can probably get better, you know, but as long as you're trying, I think you're going to be okay.
I think that's the number one non-negotiable for me. Is good communication.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially because when you observe people in relationships that don't have good communication, it's like it's so obvious how a problem could be solved. My parents are like this, actually. Yeah. I think they've got better as they've got older. But I remember being a teenager and they'd get into a disagreement. And my mom would give the silent treatment. Yeah. And my dad would not know what he'd done for like 2 weeks.
Wow. Wow. So that, I mean, I have to imagine that would drive him crazy, right? Like he's trying to
I'm not saying that he was perfect either. I'm sure he had his communication issues.
We all have our flaws, right? But you're so right. For me, communication is a big deal, and I've tried to improve that over the years. And I'm a firm believer in my life, I'm a firm believer that you can't be good at something until you're bad at it. And I know that I've been a bad communicator in the past. And so I've tried to like, that didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Like, what could I have done better there? And it really revolves around like, you know, being vulnerable, being honest, being open, and just trying to communicate with people, you know, where you are.
A lot of the time, I think it's just, you don't want to be cruel or you don't want to hurt people's feelings, right? So you're not honest, especially early in dating.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like, and there's a certain extent to which it's like socially unacceptable to turn up on a first date and immediately go, oh, you're not as attractive as I thought, so we're not going to do the date.
There's a level, you got to use some discernment, you know, in terms of honesty, you know, but I think you definitely need to, like, the whole point, right? If you're dating and you're dating for marriage, right, you want somebody that's going to be there for you when things get rough, right? And so you have to have a certain level of honesty and trust there to be like, hey, this is good, this is bad, I need your help, right?
The dating for marriage thing is interesting because I think it sets such a high bar that it's like almost impossible to get to know people and be open-minded and give people a chance. Like I've kind of had that perspective, and I do sway a little bit sometimes between wanting to date for marriage versus dating more just for the experience and for the enjoyment of it. Because when I date for marriage, it's like, I won't go on a date for a long time because I'm not seeing anybody that I think is a suitable candidate. But am I giving people a chance? Probably not.
Does your perspective change if you change the word marriage to partnership? Does that mean anything
No, because I've had a couple of long-term relationships now that weren't the right person. Yeah. And I don't want to do that again. You know, like I really wouldn't want to enter a serious relationship unless I felt like it had that potential. Yeah. So I think that definition has changed for me.
Yeah, for me, the way I think about seriously dating is I think about dating for partnership. And, you know, it's going to take a few dates to figure it out. But when I'm like thinking in my head, okay, I'm here with this person, can I see this person being my life partner? Like, can we lean on each other? Can I see myself running down a beach? Can I see myself like going through a tough time and this person like, you know, supporting me, right? And to your point, I think now I'm in a space where I want to get more serious about dating. And you're right, there are people that you recognize pretty quickly that you're like, okay, this is probably not going to be, this can't be anything serious. And then there's people where you're like, okay, I think there's some potential there. And then you kind of have to, you got to take the leap, right? You got to take the risk. Do a few dates and see what's happening.
I've never had that yet though, actually.
You got plenty of time.
Even the girlfriends that I did end up being in a relationship with, I didn't feel like that was where we were headed at the start. It was only after maybe, 6 or 7 weeks you just kind of feel that attraction. I mean, it's why people fall in love with who they work with, right? Because you've got that proximity.
Yeah.
And then that builds for like a year. And then all of a sudden, oh man, I'm really attracted to this woman that I didn't even look twice at a year ago.
Huh. That's an interesting thought, man. Yeah. I've never dated within my workplace, but I 100% understand that. You know, if you're around somebody every day, you just kind of grow fond of them.
Yeah.
You know, and then at some point you're like, well, yeah, obviously this is my person.
I had a really funny experience in college, which is more like the final year of high school in the UK.
Okay.
So you can do your schooling till you're 16. Then you can stay in school for the final 2 years. You can leave, or you can go to something called college.
Yeah.
And you do these A-level exams. So I was there, and I sat next to this same girl in history for 2 years straight, maybe 3 times a week.
Okay.
She was not an attractive woman. Like, I was not physically attracted to her at all.
Okay.
But we'd make kind of small talk, you know, and we sat next to each other every day.
Yeah.
And then I remember, like, at the end of the 2 years, she just accidentally like touched my arm or something, or like touched my hand. And you know, when you feel that kind of spark of chemistry, I would just thought, what was that? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
But it was because that had been building over 2 years. It wasn't even a physical thing. It was just a proximity thing.
That's funny, man. I'm trying to think if I've had a similar situation to that. I don't know if I've had that. You know, I've been in positions of leadership where obviously you work with women, you know, and for me, I just kind of like turn off that part of my brain, right? Like I just like lock into just purely business and don't have much of a serious interpersonal connection there, you know. But I know plenty of people in my profession that have married their, you know, their business partners or you know, or whatever. Most businesses in my profession are family businesses, right? And it's usually a husband and wife team, you know. So, man, that's wild, man. I think for me, I probably get that more on when I meet somebody, let's say, I don't know, we're out, you know, having a drink or something, we go on a date. Usually at some point throughout the day, we'll have some sort of deeper discussion, and then I'll start to get that feeling of like, oh, okay, like this is somebody that I'm not just, you know, maybe I'm physically attracted to them, but now I'm like more mentally attracted. And once I become mentally attracted, I think that's all I need, really, you know.
That's way more important.
Yeah, 100%.
It really is. Yeah. Alcohol, unfortunately, can create that for you as well.
100%.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about business.
Yeah,
so,
let's do it.
as you just briefly mentioned it.
Yeah.
How did you first get into the jewelry game?
I'll tell you the full longer story. I generally like sum it up really fast,
Sure,
but the way that I got into the game was I originally worked in the music industry, okay? And so I was doing jewelry on the side as like a side hustle, make a little bit of money here and there. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to actually make this my life, right? And so the way that I kind of put it is I started working at jewelry stores. And so at the time I was just looking like, where can I just get my foot in the door? I don't know really anything. I want to learn, and I swallowed my pride. I was like, I'm willing to work the worst position.
How old were you at this point?
This is in my early 20s.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, what can I do here? And so I get in with one of the big box retailers, one of the largest box retailers around the nation, right? They have stores in like malls and things like that. So I get into one of their stores, and I start literally at the bottom of the totem pole, right? Like my first months there, 6 months or whatever, like I didn't even really get to sell much jewelry. It was just more like, yo, you're gonna clean up everything, you're gonna do all these trainings, and you're just gonna kind of watch and listen, right? And then as that started to grow, I started to sell, I started to become one of their top sellers. I was getting a lot of opportunities, and I was like, okay, well, in jewelry, like in many professions, there's a couple different routes you can take. I always looked at myself as wanting to do like higher jewelry. Like I wanted to get into really fine pieces, right? And so what I did was I started to work with some other retailers, a little bit fancier retailers. Once I felt like I understood the front half of the game, I said, let's figure out the back half. So like, what's like the wholesale side look like, right? So what I did was I had spent a year going down to Jewelers Row, and I was just talking to anybody I could. You know, I would literally knock on a business and be like, hi, I'm Ren, and then just kind of like basically pitch myself, right? Like try to be like, this is what I can do. These are my skill sets, because I'm not like a polisher or a traditional bench jeweler. You know, my skills are they're more in kind of like leadership, management, creativity, things like that. And so I did that for a long time. And eventually I came across a business that they had a role that was somewhat similar that I could work. And again, I was ready to work whatever the base level role was. You know, I had some money in the bank, so I didn't necessarily need the money at the time, but I knew, I was like, I need to pay for these skills over this amount of time, right? So I work with this manufacturer. They start me off in a position that is basically I'm fielding orders and figuring out how to put together custom pieces of jewelry, right? Lo and behold, about 6 months in, they originally hired me to oversee that position, but we didn't tell anybody else. So I just basically worked in the trenches for like 6 months. About 6 months in, I understood the role, I understood what was needed, and they're like, okay, well, here's your actual role. We just needed you to understand the ins and outs, the X's and O's.
So they gave you like an apprenticeship, really?
Yeah, I mean, it was paid, right? It wasn't paid well, but it was something. And I got into the bigger role. You know, I was able to make more money. I had a lot more decisions that I could make, more responsibility. And the whole thing there was like, let's just grow this company, you know? And so we grew for a little while. And then I reached a point where I was like, it makes sense for me to do my own thing. You know, I feel like I understand the game enough. I have enough connections. I know how, you know, to get from A to Z. Let's do our thing. Yeah. So I broke off, started my company, Ren Private Jewelers, and had enough clientele where people wanted to start building jewelry with me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I just kept it rolling.
What was it like for you, kind of going back in a sense of you had a more successful career in LA in music.
Yeah.
Then you start working at this like lower level retail store, doing stuff that you probably, you know, you knew that you were made for more. What was it like kind of taking that lifestyle decrease and that slight status decrease for you?
For me, what it was is, you know, you have to be able to swallow a lot of pride and ego there, right? And I think a lot of people aren't willing to take 2 steps back to get 10 steps forward, right? And I looked at that going, okay, here's an industry that I'm genuinely passionate about. Here's something I genuinely care about. I have to accept that I'm not where I want to be. Maybe I'm not who I want to be, but I have to accept that I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I kind of use this idealized version of like where you see me at now of like, I want to be a business owner. I want to make this type of jewelry, have these type of clients. I kind of made it like my North Star.
So you had that vision though?
Yeah, I had the bones of it. You know, it wasn't quite as super detailed of like, this is where I live, this is what I eat type thing, but it was like, I kind of know who the general person is at that time. And I had a rough timeline, right? And so once I did that, I said, okay, well, let's stay focused. Let's get to that thing and let's keep pushing. You know, and I do the same thing now where I go, okay, here's where I'm at in my life. Here's where I'm at in my business. I kind of know what I want to be in the next 5-ish years. I know where I want to be in 10 years. And it's like, how do I keep chipping away at that vision right there? You know, and I really try to eliminate distractions, you know, things that are just taking away from the vision.
What would some of those distractions be for you back then?
Back then, a lot of the distractions were, you know, I was still DJing on the side, and that was really just a distraction. You know, the money wasn't necessarily that good. Had me out until late at night. You know, and as fun as it was, I just realized this is not who I want to be. You know, and so I had to like kind of take a step back from that. Dating, girls, stuff like that. You know, just dating's not bad, but it's just like understanding like, you know, what's important to you. What do you want? Like, what's the agreement you want to make with yourself? Is this the guy I want to be? Then like, I have to move accordingly, you know? So those are distractions, you know, just going out, just things that weren't like conducive to building myself. A big one was like gaining knowledge, you know, like back then the idea of me like sitting down and like reading a book or like actually studying a concept or whatever, I would do it, but I didn't take it that seriously. And I realized, okay, for me to be the man that I want to be, I need to approach this like literally like I'm like, you know, getting a degree in myself, right? Like what type of person is that? What does this person know? What do I want to be? Like just really study the subjects that are interesting to me to kind of help mold myself into, you know, being a more well-rounded person.
I think sometimes with, you know, college has a bit of a bad reputation, university, whatever, because a lot of people go and get this degree rather because it's expected of them or it's the done thing, then they have this passion that they must explore. Mine was kind of like that, to be honest with you. And I think, imagine if you took any subject, any industry you want to master, even if it's something that people would say is very difficult to get into, like, you know, being a musician, being an influencer. Imagine if you just dedicated to studying and practicing that for 4 years, every single day,
you're going to get good.
You're going to get so good.
You're going to get good.
You're going to get so
100%.
good. Yeah.
And that's exactly how I look at it now, man, of just like, you can be anything, right? You can pick the most ridiculous goal you want. And if you really give it some dedicated effort and like time, you're going to get really, really far.
Yeah.
You know, and I think about so many things that I had to like learn in my life that like I just didn't know how to do. You know what I mean? Like I remember building a website in my early 20s and I had no idea how to do that. And I just like spent time figuring out how to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I built a motorcycle. Learn that from like YouTube. You know what I mean? So it's like things, you can do the impossible if you just try it. You know? People that learn languages, the same thing. You know, you just practice and you'll get better.
Yeah. And the information is no longer an excuse because it's so available.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even, you know, before you could go to the library and honestly, I think some people would benefit from just doing that.
Yeah, reading a book. Yeah.
Yeah, like don't try and do it on YouTube. Just go to the library and get some books out and have that. I think the problem with learning online is the distractions are there for people. Like it's so easy to just go, bored now, 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
You know, oh, let's go and look at, you know, whatever.
Instagram. You know what's funny is I have an iPad in my house. And I use this iPad basically to control all of my electronics and everything.
Okay.
I use it basically as like a giant smart remote, right? Now, what I do sometimes is I told you I don't have a TV in my living room. I have just books all over my living room. But sometimes I want to like watch YouTube or something, right? While I'm sitting in there. So I'll take the iPad and I'll prop it up. But I don't have the ability, like I don't have my social media on this iPad. I don't obviously have like my texting or anything like that. And so it's literally, it basically is just like a digital media like receiver device. So I'll sit there and just like study these, you know, these topics, or if I just read a book about something interesting, I'll go on the iPad and like I'll like reverse fact check it and look at some stuff. So for me, it works well because I take the weakness of like wanting to be on something digital, but then I limit it, you know, it's like what I can actually do. Cause like you can just get caught on like TikTok or something, you know, scrolling for hours, you know what I mean, and ruin your whole day.
Yeah,
you know?
And I think so much of discipline is actually not just sheer willpower. It's about creating the environments that where you can set yourself up for success. Like, you know, if you give somebody, you know, an Xbox controller and a comfortable chair, you know, of course, they might start playing a bit of Xbox.
I'll give you a good one on discipline. Yeah, I would like to think I'm fairly disciplined. However, I do the same thing. I create environments where I have to be disciplined, right? And like the easiest one I'll give you is in my house, I have an alarm clock in my bedroom, right? And when it goes off, I get up and start my day, right? But what I had noticed was that like sometimes I want to like sleep in a little bit longer. So what I started doing was I have a watch that has an alarm on it and that sits in my kitchen. And so when that goes off, I have to physically get up and turn it off. And by the time I get to my kitchen, I'm like, well, I'm here already, you know? So like then I don't want to go back to bed. So it's one of those where sure, I could be non-disciplined and like go back to sleep and do whatever, but I'm just going to be annoyed. So now I have to get up and start my day. And then I just kind of like stop negotiating with myself. You know, just like get the small win and just like keep chasing those throughout the day.
You can't negotiate with yourself throughout the day. No way. I've also learned certain things will raise my willpower, certain things will lower it. If I am underslept, it's harder.
Of course.
If I drink alcohol, it's definitely lowered. There aren't that many things that really increase it in terms of, you know, chemicals or actions. It's really just stacking it, I think. Stacking the accomplishments.
I think I have things that increase my motivation for sure. Like I'll give you a great example, right? When I close a deal, a jewelry deal, that's a very exciting moment for me, right? And it's not necessarily just the idea of like, oh, you made money. Like that's cool, you know, and sure, making money like makes the world go round, right? But for me, it's more about like, oh, I get to create another like forever piece. I'm making another piece of art that's gonna live into this world. So like when I get a person that's like, oh, I wanna do this deal, or I wanna do that, especially if it happens overnight or something, I'm like ready to go for the day. Like I'm amped up, you know? So that makes me even more excited to like keep chasing that thing.
I totally know what you mean actually, because when somebody joins my program, when they join the Gentleman's Institution, it's one more guy that I know he's gonna improve his life. And like whatever he told me he wants to work on, whatever he's decided, like that's up to you, you know? It's not like we're gonna do this. But I know that you've just made a massive step to help yourself that previously was unavailable to you.
100%, man. And like that, when you're the person that's you know, in your case, you're like giving them that opportunity. In my case, I'm creating this thing for them.
Yeah.
You know, I look at that as now I have a duty to be even better, right? Like every time I get an opportunity to like do something like that, I'm always thinking, how can I take this up, you know, 2 notches here to like make this piece the next best thing, you know, and just keep pouring myself into those things.
Yeah. And I think, you know, fundamentally that's your job as a man is just to create, whether it's building a motorcycle, whether it's recording a podcast, writing a book, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, same for women. I mean, they create children, they create life. Yeah. So, man, but
I think women create stability to the world.
Stability?
Yeah, I think if men were left to their own devices, we would tear each other apart in this world. I think women are a necessary balance to this.
There would also be less motivation, though. So we could be either more sedate, you know, or just killing each other. I'm not sure which way it would go. I think today it would go more sedated.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, historically, when it's just men left to their own devices, things get pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess
these days with Xbox and Pornhub, it might.
yeah, seriously.
It might not do. Yeah.
That's funny. When you are creating a program for a young man or gentleman, how much of that is tailored specifically to them? Like, I assume you have some sort of framework that you're like, these are kind of the bare bones of like, let's start here.
Yeah.
You know, but how much of that do you kind of like, oh, I know that you're more of this type of person, maybe we should add more of this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would use this analogy. It's kind of like the house is there, but how do we furnish it?
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I'm a huge believer in building habits and building discipline.
Yeah.
But you also need to have a vision and a North Star that gives you the reason for those habits. Like I would never say, welcome to the program. You're going to wake up at 5 a.m. Then you're going to go and have a cold shower. Because if that doesn't help you get to your goal and your vision, there's no point doing that. Point? Yeah, exactly. So I think it's the framework stays the same. Even with style, for example, obviously that's something that I develop and I believe is really important. But the way that you're going to style yourself, what your budget is, what the aesthetic is, how you want to be perceived, I wouldn't say there are any 2 men that have the same opinion on that. And that's cool. You know, I help guys that live in Nevada or Montana and they want to wear cowboy boots and jeans. And I help guys in New York who've just got a new job in finance, you know, and they don't want to look like an idiot in the office.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I get asked that a lot, actually. Especially for men when it comes to styling like watches or kind of like my 3 big ones for men in terms of pieces of jewelry you should own is I think you need a nice watch. I think you need a gold chain. And then ideally, I would say either a signet ring or a bracelet, right? Now, in my case, I'm a jeweler, so I sometimes wear all the above, you know, but I get a lot of guys who are like, hey, this is my first watch. You know, like, what do you think? Here's my budget. I work in this field. I don't want to look like an idiot when I walk in these rooms. You know, like, what do you recommend? And I tailor options to them. You know, the same thing for people talk about jewelry, right? When they're, hey, man, I want to buy something, you know, I want to buy this nice piece of jewelry for myself. But again, I don't even know how to style jewelry. I don't know this, that, and the other, but I want to wear it like every day, right? And so I have to like answer a lot of, they're not tough questions, but they require you to think very heavily and get to know the person on a certain level and understand like, okay, if James is this type of guy, what type of watch does he wear? Because easiest way to look like an idiot is wear a really dumb watch, you know, one that just like doesn't fit you. Yeah, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. Every time. Yeah.
Let's try and do this kind of generically if we can. Let's say 27-year-old guy, good job, works in finance, making, you know, 150 a year. He's got 1 or 2K he wants to spend on a nice watch.
So there's a lot of ways that you can go about that. You know, the saying he works in finance is a nice it's a nice point there because that obviously changes who he's going to be around on a day-to-day basis, right? So at the $1,000 or $2,000 mark, that is a very healthy kind of opening budget. I think if you're a young guy and you work in finance and you're looking at that, what I would think immediately is I would go, let's find a dress watch, you know, so one that's like respected, maybe a little bit cheaper. And so, I mean, you can look at, it's not about the big brands. Like, it doesn't have to be super fancy. And frankly, at 1 or 2K, there's not a ton of big brands that start off there. But there's a ton of micro brands that make really, really beautiful watches around those price points. So you can find, I mean, there's literally thousands of them. But you can find one that you think fits kind of your personality. My opinion would be probably a dress watch, though, only because it's, generally speaking, very simple. You can wear it in a suit, wear it in a meeting. You could also wear it if you're, you know, you want to go out to the bar with your friends. You know what I mean? So that's probably where I would start in terms of style of watch. Now, the specific watch, I'm not sure. If I were that guy, because I know myself, right? What I would buy is I'd probably buy a classic Omega, probably from, you know, the 80s or 90s.
Yeah,
I think probably find one around there.
A vintage Omega is a great entry point.
Yeah. I'm actually wearing one right now. This is from the 90s, and this is one of my favorite watches. I modeled this watch after a picture I saw of my father when he was in the 90s, wearing this particular watch on a similar strap. And so once I saw that, I kind of wanted to like do my take.
That's cool. Yeah. What I like about doing that as well is, you know, maybe for a similar price, you could get a cheaper tag.
Yeah,
perhaps, but is that as special? It's more generic, right?
Yeah.
To go for something like that.
I always say find something that you find interesting, because like if you're invested in the story or the brand, right, that passion is going to come through to other people, especially when you get to talk about your piece.
Yeah.
You know, so like the classic one I hear all the time is like, guys are like, what should my first Rolex be? And I'm like, well, why do you like Rolex? And then they just don't really have a great answer. And it's like, okay, I get it, right? It's a status symbol, and you kind of want that status, and that's fine if that's your case. But let's live in that reality of like, that's why I want this.
Yeah.
You know, now if you're trying to tell me, oh man, I really like watches, I like this style, blah blah blah. Maybe that's not the best brand for you, because there's so many watch brands out there that make gorgeous watches of all types of price points. You know, don't get caught in just like the big three.
Yeah.
You know, you might like something a lot deeper out there.
I'm so glad that I have my great-grandfather's one, because I mean, almost every time I go to a bar and I have my arm on the bar, somebody will say something.
There you go.
And it also means I don't have any interest in spending tens of thousands of dollars on a Rolex, because I know no matter what watch I bought, nothing would be as special to me. And even if I do care about the validation of other people, nobody's going to talk about any other watch more, unless I bought some insane. But even then, I'd have to go so gaudy and gauche that it would actually be kind of tasteless.
You know what's funny is I have a similar thing. Like, I have a watch that I bought for myself, and it's from the 40s. It's an old Omega. It's a gold Omega, and I wear it sometimes. And same thing. I have guys that are like huge watch collectors, and they just lose their mind over that thing, because it's very interesting, and it looks really good, and it's in good condition, you know. And so, again, find something that's interesting to you, something that you care about, and like, the money doesn't really matter. You know, I firmly believe that money does not buy taste. Like, you have to refine your taste to a point where you know what you like and why you like it, and then obviously you can fit it within your budget at the time. Yeah.
So obviously, a lot of your business is built off your personal network, connections, things like that. For somebody that's looking to develop a personal network with maybe people that are more high net worth, more successful, they're looking to be around that kind of environment, what would you recommend for them?
I'd recommend a couple of things. First and foremost, you have to be aware of how you present, right? So if you're saying, hey, I want to build a network and I want people to know me as whatever, the jeweler, right? Then what do I believe that person that I want to be, or I want to portray myself, how do I believe they dress? How do I believe they conduct themselves in that space? Cool. Once you have an idea as to how you want to do that, then start looking at spaces, right? Because I think a lot of people, they'll just be like, I'm just going to go to where rich people are, and then I'm going to have friends, and like, sure, that'll work to some extent. But I think if you're more tactical about like, here's how I want to move in these type of rooms, here's the story, here's like how I want to get myself across to these people, when you find the rooms, it tends to happen a lot faster. You know, so first, make sure you understand yourself, how you want to refine yourself. Second, know what you're talking about, right? Like, don't try to fake it. There's people that try to talk about subjects they don't understand. And I find that people are much more open to you when you're like, oh, I don't know much about that. You know, can you like be an open book, be a sponge, right? And then finally, start looking at spaces that make sense, right? If I'm a jeweler, right, and I want to meet more clients, and you know, my clients are, let's just call them high net worth individuals, right? I'm probably not going to go to like a nightclub to try and make more of those clients, right? That doesn't really make much sense for how I need to operate to get those clients, right? So look for spaces that would make sense.
What could some of those spaces be? Let's just take Chicago, for example. We don't have to go specific, but...
Yeah, we don't have to go specific, but I mean, like, generally speaking, I mean, like I said, I like cigars. Yeah. I like cigar lounges, and I've had really great conversations in cigar lounges with plenty of really interesting people. And sometimes that's led to customers, or it's led to a connection to a customer, you know, something like that. Almost every city has a version of, like, members clubs. You can check out which one is... you know, which one makes sense to you. Depending on what your thing is, it might be more specific, right? If you want to be, you're talking about being an influencer, right? If I wanted to be maybe a fitness influencer, I'm gonna hang out at a lot of fitness events, right? I'm gonna join these run clubs. I'm gonna go to these events, these store activations, things like that. Like, I'm gonna spend more time in those spaces. You know what I mean? You and I were lucky enough to go to a fashion show recently, right? That makes a lot of sense based on that brand's clientele and kind of the clientele that you know we serve, and so stuff like that, you got to keep your eyes open for it. You know?
And I think there are levels to it. It depends how much money you have as well. I always say there was a point in which a friend of mine who has a clothing company, he was going to put a sales guy down in Chicago, and I was thinking, oh, this is how I'm going to show him around. And I thought, you know, if you don't have a lot of money, there are 4 or 5 bars in this specific area where all the wealthy people go, right? And you can go there and have your $12 beer.
100%.
And have conversations. But I think you hit on something really important, which is you have to have the story and know what you're doing first. I think some guys think like, oh, I need this network. I need to be around these high net worth individuals. But it's like, well, what's the point of that? You need to have something. What are you adding to it? You need to have something first. And it doesn't mean you have to be as rich as them or as successful, but it also can't just be, I'll work for free or I'll, you know,
I think a lot of people respect, at least from the wealthier individuals that I've interacted with, they respect somebody that's driven, that has a clear picture of what they want to do, and is able to articulate what they're trying to accomplish, and you're willing to put in the work, right? Because a lot of the wealthier people that I've associated with, nobody's just going to immediately be like, all right, well, let's do it, right? They're going to probably watch you a little bit and kind of see how you operate, and so you have to kind of get into that. You got to become a doer, right? Like, you got to get things done and be working towards whatever that goal is, you know, that you have. And then generally opportunities start to open. And the last thing you want is to get a really big opportunity and have no idea what to do with it, you know? So like, the whole point of you trying to do those things is like, think of it as practice. Like, put your reps up in the gym, so then when the really heavy weight comes, you're like, okay, I think I know how to attack this. You know?
That's true.
100%. I'm telling you, man. I mean, I've seen jewelers that are newer into the game get really big opportunities, and they just have no idea what to do there. And what ends up happening is things take longer, things cost more, or they just can't execute it to the level that they want. And one bad move can kind of ruin everything.
What is your vision for your business over the next few years, and what do those steps along the way look like, do you think?
High level, what my business is I want to make really high-end jewelry, right? So there's kind of levels to jewelry, right? You have kind of the 3 that I'll bring up are what we call like demi-fine, and so that's like a lot of like gold-plated jewelry. Fine jewelry is, you know, think most engagement rings are like fine jewelry. And then you have something called high jewelry, and that's where, you know, think of like crowns, tiara, like things like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's like high jewelry. That's really crazy stuff. So I kind of want to live in a space between fine and high jewelry. You know, I want to do a little bit of both. And over the next few years, my biggest thing is just cultivate a really solid clientele that value the things that I bring in terms of how I operate a private jewelry company. And so for me, my entire company is about experience. And so I'm constantly looking at ways to elevate an experience with my clientele, whether that's meeting them in a cigar lounge, right? Taking them out to dinner or lunch or whatever it is. I travel for some clients, right? So getting the opportunity to grow that experience offering, as well as giving people really, really high-end jewelry. You know, I've spent years developing the back end, and like, I know I can produce extremely high quality jewelry. And now it's just a matter of bringing that to my clients in a package that they really, really value.
What was it like for you building a brand and a reputation that is at the higher end of the market and is luxurious? Obviously, you've got the physical metals and stones that have a certain value, but there's also a perception there.
Yeah.
How did you go about creating that?
I think there's two ways. One, to my point earlier, I started looking the part, right? I started talking the part. Like, these are things that I know intimately, and so I can speak intelligently about them, right? So I wanted to make sure that I look like a high jewelry creator, right? I want to make sure that I can speak about it in a way that's articulate. On top of that, I started doing those projects, right? There's some projects I didn't take that were not necessarily of that, of that world.
Right, so you had to refuse a little bit of business.
Some, and like that's a dangerous place to live, right? Because you don't want to like alienate your clientele, but at the same point too, I understood very clearly about my business. For me to give you the experience that I want, I kind of live at a certain like price point. Like there's a certain level of things that need to go in for me to offer my package the way that I want to offer it. And some things don't fit that, and unfortunately I can't service those. Now, for me, I know plenty of jewelers that'll do a great job, and I don't mind referring things, and people sometimes refer to me too. But it's just a matter of like not compromising on like, here's the quality of jewelry that I want to make, here's how I want to present it, here's the stories that I tell, like this is how I want to operate as a jeweler. Yeah.
I like what you said about just being open to referring somebody if it's not a great fit for you, because that also suggests to me a very abundant mindset of I'm not worried about turning away this project because I'm going to give that business to somebody else.
Yeah.
And maybe it will come back to me.
Yeah, man, there's so many jewelers in Chicago that I love, and we have so many great jewelers here. Like there's so many people here that do such good work, and so for me, I'm not a selfish person, so if this fits better for, James's jewelry company, I'm like, you should probably talk to James, and what I firmly believe is that high tides raises all ships, and there's more than enough business in Chicago alone for all of the jewelers here to be doing perfectly fine. Like I was looking at some stat the other day, and I don't know, maybe you and I were talking about this, but I was talking to somebody, and it's something to the effect of there's going to be like 47,000 weddings in Chicago over the next like 2 or 3 years or something, like something crazy like that, right? And so you look at that and you go, okay, well that's like 47,000 engagement rings. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, guys, we can all do just fine, and just do a good job. Yeah, it's like something crazy, and so being stingy only hurts everybody, because ultimately what you're doing is you're giving your client a worse experience, which is only going to sour them to working with jewelers, which is only going to hurt the next jeweler, so it just doesn't make any sense.
Would you say that jewelry is quite popular at the moment in the mainstream compared to maybe how it was in the past, where you think it might be heading in the future?
That's a tough to answer question because, obviously given some of like the economic times that we're in, I think jewelry under a certain price point is probably slipping a little bit. And I look at reports pretty much monthly on the general habits of Americans. That being said though, I do think we are in a fun time of jewelry because with certain material costs, like, lab diamonds, not quite as expensive. There's different manufacturing techniques. There's a lot of things that are available to us now that didn't necessarily exist in the last, call it 30 years. That we can get more creative and do a lot cooler stuff. And so people that have the means, people that have the creativity, they're starting to venture into jewelry and like they want cooler stuff, and jewelers are getting way more skilled, they're putting together just way more interesting jewelry.
I feel like I'm definitely seeing both more men and women wearing a lot of jewelry.
Yeah.
The amount of guys that I will see now wearing multiple bracelets, wearing necklaces, wearing rings.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that, 8-10 years ago as much.
You know what it is too? I think that especially for our generation, right? We're a little bit younger. Our generation understands the value of like, I want to buy this thing, treat myself, and kind of present myself this way. Where I think a lot of our parents' generations or our grandparents, a lot of them were like, let's just put our head down, stack our money, and then, follow the traditional American dream, if you will. And I just think that our values have changed as we've gotten into this, this day and age.
Do you think there's a big interplay between fashion and jewelry as well? Because one of my theories might be that I see men dressing more casually, so they are looking to introduce some kind of accessory or personalization to the outfit that previously may have been a tie, a pocket square. Now it's a bracelet, a ring.
That's a great thought around that. And I think that there's got to be something to that for sure. Because you see it in jewelry, right? Like as fashion trends start to change, you do see jewelry trends change as well too. You know, like some years it's really chunky jewelry, some years it's like really delicate, dainty jewelry, things like that. And all it takes really is like one or two celebrities to do something interesting in jewelry, and then it just takes off like wildfire through the rest of the industry.
I've always felt like I can't pull off a lot of jewelry. Like,
I think you could,
like
man.
a gold necklace. I've bought a couple of gold-plated necklaces to see if it looks good.
Yeah.
Different lengths, different types of, link.
Yeah.
I've never felt like it suited me.
Yeah.
But maybe
when I look at you, I don't think of a necklace.
Right.
I think of a bracelet. I think of there's several different simple styles of bracelets that I could see you wearing, and then I think a ring. Like I think a signet ring. A signet ring would be perfect for you.
When you gesture
pinky
as well.
or whatever. Yeah. You know, I think it's a very very tasteful addition to any outfit. You know, and like even right now, right? Like we're sitting here in this beautiful place smoking cigars. Like I could totally see your look right now with like a small gold ring.
Yeah.
I
think because I have a hairy chest and I'm white, a gold chain just looks, I don't know, there's something about it doesn't go.
For some, for some people it's for them or it's not for them.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I tend to switch up my jewelry a lot, but one thing that I've found is that I'm not like the jeweler that's gonna wear like a million diamonds, right? I might have a little flash here and there, but relatively speaking, I'm fairly simple. I have a small bracelet stack. I almost always wear these chains. They're kind of good luck to me. And I'm usually wearing a watch. Sometimes rings if I'm going out, but most days I don't wear rings because I work with my hands a lot. So they just get kind of annoying to me sometimes.
Well, you are a walking billboard.
Yeah, 100%.
Which most people are.
Yeah.
I really do believe that. Most people are.
Yeah.
I also think that's one of the reasons why a certain standard of physical fitness and health is so important. Because when you see somebody that clearly has that level of discipline, it sends so many positive messages.
You got to take care of yourself, man. You have to take care. And I just think as a self-respecting human, you should be generally trying to take care of yourself. So like you should be generally aware of your fitness levels, your health habits. You should be aware of how much you drink, how much you eat. I think living a life of just pure indulgence is a fast way to not have a very long life.
And an unhappy one as well.
Yeah, 100%. You don't appreciate things as much, I would hate to be the person that goes to a 5-star restaurant every single night, because I have to imagine after a while, you can't taste it anymore.
Yeah, a friend of mine in the UK, he was telling me he went to, I forget the name of the restaurant, but it's on Savile Row. It's just off Savile Row. Beautiful. And obviously it's very expensive kind of restaurant. And he went there with his son for like a special meal.
Yeah.
And there was a person sat next to them by themselves at the table, just watching Netflix on their phone while they ate.
Incredible.
And he said it kind of ruined our experience because, to us it's a big special occasion. For them, it's like they've just got a takeout. Yeah,
that would kind of bum me out a little bit. Yeah. And especially, he's there with his son, but like I don't know if it was a celebration or something, but if he's there for like a really important occasion and like somebody's kind of doing that next to you, you look at it and you're just like, well, is this even special? Does this matter anymore?
Yeah.
And that would probably bum me out. What I find, I'm a big believer in sometimes you have to kind of check out and like try to appreciate what's in front of you. So like I'll go out to dinner by myself sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'll do the whole thing. I'll get dressed up. I'll do the whole thing as if I'm going on like a nice date or whatever, but I'll get dressed up. I'll go to dinner and I just try to enjoy the experience. I interact heavily with my server. I look at the room. I really try to focus on the food. If I'm having wine or something, I try to focus on what I'm drinking. I really just try to appreciate like how lucky am I that I get to enjoy this thing right here. And I think that when I'm there with another person, hopefully I can kind of like give them some of that energy of like, hey, this is great. We're at this great restaurant. We're drinking this wonderful wine. We're doing whatever.
And that's something that, coming back to dating, I definitely look at. If we are having one of those experiences, do you, acknowledge that this is an experience? Are you in the moment with me? Do you appreciate this?
Yeah.
Or is this just like some food for you?
Yeah. If I'm, this would be fun. I'm curious what some of your dating pet peeves are, but I do the same thing too. I very much try to pay attention to if I'm on a date, I try to pay attention to my date, or if I'm there with anybody else, I very much pay attention to how they interact within the environment and how they interact with individuals in the environment too, because I think that says a lot about a person if you just observe them.
Dating pet peeves.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic of restaurants,
sure.
If they don't say thank you.
Yeah.
For paying.
Yeah.
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 I've had that quite a few times actually, quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's not unusual.
I think I've had that a few times, you know, and if I'm asking somebody out on a date, obviously I'm gonna like pay for the date, you know what I mean? Like I think that's kind of just a rule of being a gentleman, right? But having some grace and some courtesy is a big deal. Yeah. You know, so for me, just a simple, hey, I appreciate it. You know,
literally,
it's great.
Literally, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. Because I would do the same thing too. And I say please and thank you a lot when I'm out. Especially when people do things for me, like I try to be really gracious and courteous because you don't know what people are going through, you know? And especially when you get good service, you got to appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The service thing kind of weirded me out when I first came to the US because I don't know if you've been to the UK before, but we take a different approach to service, obviously.
What's the big difference?
Well, they're not trying to like bowl you over with great service.
In the UK?
Yeah, unless you go to a really top tier restaurant. But if you're just going to a regular, you know, Italian restaurant, whatever, I would say that being a server is taken a lot more seriously as like a profession in America.
Yeah, totally.
And they have a lot more sense of duty and professionalism and kind of respect for the whole experience. Whereas in the UK, it's just a minimum wage job. We don't really tip. So it's kind of just the same as, you know, working at the checkout at a supermarket. Whereas, I mean, obviously they have the motive of the tip in the US. Of course. And that's a huge part of it. Yeah. But
do servers get paid better in the UK? You said it's a minimum wage job.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Here it's like less than minimum wage though. Like a lot of servers make below the average minimum wage, and then tips are supposed to subsidize, which to me is ridiculous. But you know.
But there are waiters that will make over $100,000.
Oh yeah, I have some friends that work here at some nice steakhouses, or I'll give you a great example. I have a buddy who's a bartender in Miami, and he makes a lot of money as a bartender. Yeah. And like I've asked him, like, hey, would you ever do something different? And he's like, why? He's like, what the jobs that I could make the equivalent amount of money are like jobs that I either am not qualified for, or they're like, in some cases, they're like senior level roles, you know, at companies.
It would take like 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so for him, it's like, it's obviously I'll keep doing this for a little while.
And that's why people stay in the industry a lot longer, so they become more skilled. Whereas in the UK, it's kind of a job that you do, you know, if you're a student, if you are kind of between jobs, if you're looking for something just kind of temporary, it's not a career that you would want to build over 20 years and really master that
Where have you, I'd love to stick on the restaurants for a minute.
Sure.
Where have you gotten your best service? Or like you've been in the US for a little while now, like can you give me like your top 5 restaurants in the United States of places that you've eaten?
Top 5 restaurants in the United States? That would be tough. I mean, in terms of the service, it's always in the South. That's where the best service is for me.
That's interesting.
Easily.
I believe that though.
And you know, it can just be like in a diner.
Yeah.
But easily. I remember when I first came here, there was an experience that really stuck out in my mind in an Uber actually, where, you know, he picked me up. I was staying at this cottage outside of Nashville. He picked me up and I was driving into Nashville with him. He was a super friendly guy. We were having conversation. Yeah. And I was doing like a diary of my trip just by hand. Yeah. And I forgot my pen. And I said that to him, and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna stop. There's a Staples right here. You go out, get your pen. You know, I'll be waiting. Just come back." Yeah. I thought that would never happen in the UK.
Really?
That would never happen. Yeah.
I'll give you a weird one for me. So I can name my top 5 restaurants.
Okay. Yeah. I want to hear it.
This is one of the restaurants, and I'll tell you a quick story about it. So this restaurant is called Surf Club, and it's in Miami. It's a gorgeous restaurant. It's inside of a very nice hotel on Miami Beach, right? So I pull up to the Surf Club one day. And I'm like valet checking my car, right? Now, you know that my name is Ren, right? But my full name is Rennick. And so when I get out of the car, I was like, hey, I have a reservation under Rennick. Just call me Ren, right? And so the valet calls me Ren. The rest of the night, every single person that spoke to me in that restaurant called me Ren. And I don't know, and mind you, the reservation was under my full name. And I never told another person to call me Ren. I don't know how they did that. I don't know what happened there, but that was such a good start to the service. And incredible service.
That's insane level to detail.
It was incredible. Yeah. It was incredible. And the food was amazing. I like to kind of joke around with waiters. And I was sitting there talking to the waiter and I was like, hey man, I'm drinking this thing. And I was like, hey, anytime you see my glass get to this level, just bring me another one, right? And he literally did it. Like, and I was like, I'll just tell you when to stop. And so he, you know, as I would finish my drinks, it would never be a discussion. He would just come trade it out, you know, enjoy your next drink and just kind of keep it moving. And just, it was such warm service. They made me feel very important. They were attentive to my needs, and I'm I'm not a demanding guy, you know, but the few things I did ask for, they got it done like that. And so for me, that place will always be one of my best restaurants that I've ever had an experience at. And I've eaten there a couple times now, and it's been fantastic.
I think because I'm British, the level of service that I actually enjoy might be a little bit lower, because I do find that when they are overly enthusiastic and they're explaining everything about the menu and all of this, I'm just thinking, please just give me the menu and go.
Really?
Yeah, literally.
I like that,
I don't like it, but I think that's a cultural thing, because I'm not used to that. No, I don't like the opposite extreme where,
drop the menu and leave.
Yeah, or they mess things up, and they don't seem bothered by it. I think what I like is, that kind of Southern hospitality of it's like you're going to somebody's grandma's house and they just have that kind of warm, loving vibe rather than, welcome to the 5-star experience. Here's our specials tonight. And they're standing there for 5 minutes.
I gotta be honest with you, I love it. And the reason why I love it is, like, especially if I'm gonna do this like fancy restaurant or whatever, I love getting to interact with the staff, and I love seeing their passion and enthusiasm for it. Because for me, it's like I could eat in my home. I'm a fantastic cook, you know what I mean? But it's like, if I'm gonna pay premium dollars to come to this restaurant that seems interesting to me, I wanna feel like I'm getting the full experience. And so I've had times where people are explaining the menu and they don't seem like they care at all, and it kind of turns me off a little bit. And I've had times where people really get into it, or let's say you're looking at a wine list, I love to talk to Psalms, and they'll go down the rabbit hole with you, and so for me, it's really fun. It just creates a fun experience and a fun interaction with, the staff of that place. And usually that's followed by really great food, and I find that my service is usually really good as well.
Yeah. I think the place that I like the most for service in Chicago would be, I love Ralph Lauren. I think the bartenders there really, there's just the right level.
Yeah.
Like, if you ask any questions,
service.
they're great, but they're not super, I don't like feeling like I'm being upsold.
Yeah.
Like when we were at Gibson's Italia the other night, you could tell the moment he realized that we were just going to have wine and a couple of cocktails, he didn't want to see us again.
Yeah,
but before that, he was super upselling us. I find that really annoying.
No, I think it's a delicate balance, you know what I mean? But you're so right. Some of the places that I love, let me see if I actually name my top 5 right now.
Sure,
Let's see here. So this is no order, right?
Okay.
But I said the Surf Club down in Miami. Love that place. Such a fantastic restaurant. Another one is called Oceans in New York. It's on Madison Avenue. These are going to be all seafood places because I primarily have a seafood diet. Oceans in New York, incredible service, incredible food. I think reasonably priced, and just a gorgeous restaurant. And so for me, it hits everything. And it feels very New York. You step out of that restaurant, and you're like right in the heart of Manhattan. You're like, all right, I'm here. So that always feels good. Miru is a Japanese restaurant here. It's in the St. Regis, not far behind us. Great service, amazing view of the city, and the food there is just like out of this world. You know what I mean? What is that, 3?
Let's do an LA one.
An LA one, Ocean Grill.
Ocean Grill.
Ocean Grill is near I believe it's still open. It should still be open. It's been a couple years since I've been there, but Ocean Grill is near the Santa Monica Pier, and it's right on the water there. And I remember I went there one time. I was gonna take my girlfriend at the time out on like a date. I was gonna be in LA for like 2 weeks, right? And so the week before, I go there to kind of scope out the scene. I look up like, where's the best seafood I can find in LA for this date. So I go there. I have a wonderful time. We come back a week later. We had an okay time. I think they sat me in not a great spot, but that's neither here nor there. We still had a good, opportunity. And the food, to this day, I can still taste the meal that I had. I had my girlfriend had a halibut cheek, and like it had like all this crazy topping. And to this day, I can still literally taste it on my tongue. And now it had to be 6 years ago or something.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's a very memorable Los Angeles one. Let me think of another one. That gives you 4. Let's think of something that's just kind of out there a little bit. I'm gonna stick to kind of the fine dining concept because I have some that are not fine dining that I think are incredible. But fine dining wise, you know what? Screw it. I won't do a fine dining one. This one's called Peppers, and it's in the Cayman Islands, and it is such a good restaurant, man. It's I think a lot of tourists know about it now, but basically it's an open air Jamaican restaurant, and they have live music there. The food there is incredible. The service is pretty good. I mean, you're literally in an open air restaurant. So good. Such a good spot, man. And my rule of finding good restaurants is you need to ask bartenders Ask people in the service industry. They'll tell you where the good stuff is.
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
What's the best steakhouse in Chicago?
Oh, man. Coming from a person who doesn't eat steak, I would say...
Oh, you don't eat steak?
I eat very little red meat, very little beef. That being said, though, there are some steakhouses that I appreciate. I've always felt like, I don't know if this counts as a steak bar or steakhouse, but Guilt Bar has a nice steak there. I took my friend from Texas there, and he loved their steak.
That is my most frequented restaurant in Chicago.
Guilt Bar is a beautiful, it's a beautiful space, and they have a pretty good steak, and I tried a couple pieces of it. Let's see here. Another one would be, I've heard good things about RPM steak. I've never eaten their steak, other than a piece maybe.
It's on my list.
I've heard really good things about them. Let's see here. Another steakhouse, True Steakhouse. I'm not sure, man. I think those are probably my top two. Some honorable mentions of really incredible restaurants here are, if you've never been to, what's it called? Topo Blanco. It's a Rick Bayless restaurant, and it's like really high level fine dining. That place is amazing, and it's a restaurant inside of a restaurant. It's really, really good. And then, what's the one over here on the pond? Oh man.
On the pond?
Yeah, it's on the pond. It's called North Pond. There you go.
Okay.
Really
I don't think
great.
I've been up that far.
Incredible. It's not that far. It's right here in Lincoln Park. Really, really incredible tasting menus. Like really well done. They change it like every season. Fantastic. I mean, Chicago has so many good restaurants. Like we could talk for hours on just fine dining in Chicago.
It really is a restaurant city.
100%. 100%. I don't think it gets enough credit for how high level the food scene is here. Because there's even places that are like side of the road here that you wouldn't even know you're having the best whatever.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones when I was growing up, my mother lived on the west side of Chicago, and now there was a guy out there who was a legend, and his name was the Taco Jerk Man. Okay, and he had a food stand, like a food cart, for many years, and he would make jerked meats and turn them into tacos.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I kid you not, it's so good. And now if you go out to the west side, I believe he has a restaurant now, and it's still super, super good. But like back then, the line would be down the block, man, to get one of his pieces, and they were cheap then. They were like $5 or whatever.
Yeah. I always love
like
small business owners that have like a wildly successful popular thing, and they never think, maybe I'll just raise the price.
Yeah, 100%.
I kind of love that. I kind of respect it. But from a business level, you go,
Yeah, I have to understand that at some point you just the economics tell you, okay, if I was charging $5 and let's say I was making $1 on this, well, now I'm the most popular person in town. Maybe I can charge $6 and make a little bit more money. But some people are greedy too, and they get ridiculous.
That's true. Like
we won't name the company, but one rideshare company, their prices have dramatically risen, in the last like 5 or 6 years. But whatever. Maybe that's
and the quality of service.
Yeah, the quality of service isn't quite.
Massively.
Exactly. So we could talk about that later.
How do you find it not having a car?
It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't drive in Chicago. I do drive in other places, but Chicago is a city where I live, at least in Chicago. I live pretty much in the middle of the city. I can walk everywhere, man. It's nothing. Even getting here, this is probably a mile from my house. Most days I would just get on like a bike, bike, and ride over here in 5-10 minutes.
Except
today was a little
humid
bit
as hell.
Yeah, a little humid. I did take an Uber today. But yeah, Chicago, not having a car is a great weight off my shoulders, man. Because one, cars are just a lot of expense and a lot of maintenance and things like that. And I just don't have the time to really focus on that right now. I would much rather, I walk everywhere. My office is across the street. Like everything I need to do in jewelry is like 2 blocks away. My grocery store is 2 blocks away. Like there's literally no logical reason for me to have a vehicle in Chicago.
It's so nice, not only not having a payment or insurance and all that kind of stuff, but you need a new set of tires.
Yeah.
Oh, the alternator
change
went
the oil.
Yeah, all
stuff
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of messing around.
An easy one for me too is like, let's say I do need to go further, right? Like my family lives in the suburbs now. I'll just rent a car.
Yeah, and then you can
$25 for the day or whatever.
Or you can pick like a nice car and you get to rent that, and then you experience all these different cars.
Yeah.
Rather than this is the same thing I've got to drive.
I would much rather do that. For me, it's much easier. It costs a lot less. But I guess we'll see. Because when you look at your like ride sharing bills, I don't know if you like break it down every month. I spend a lot of money on ride shares, right? And so I definitely opted for feet. this summer.
Yeah,
you know?
No, I love walking anyway.
Yeah.
I find for the mind
as
well, it's great. That would probably be my thing. If I couldn't smoke cigars, I would just go for a walk instead.
I do both. I do both a lot. You know, I think what I like to do in my day, especially when I'm going hard, right? Like I have a day where I have a lot of things to do, a lot of people to call, a lot of objectives to achieve. When I get towards the end of my day, I definitely try to take, an hour, 90 minutes, and I go, okay, this is time to like settle down a little bit, and that's something I learned over time. Like when I was in my 20s, I found that when I left work, I was still really wound up for work. And I found that I was not like, you start to notice it in your relationships with people, and like not even just romantic, you just like, let's say I'm talking to you, I'm just like a little bit wound up. You know what I mean? The
emotional regulation.
Yeah, you're just in like you're in a different headspace. And so once I'm like, okay, it's time to slow down the work aspect, because it's like never really done, but it's time to be like, let's settle down for the night. Okay, let's really decompress. Let's get it out of our system. Let's keep it moving and like keep it going. And then I've adopted a new rule too, is that business, I don't talk business after 10 p.m.
Okay.
That's fairly late, but I go, okay, like if I'm hanging out with somebody and we're talking about business, once we get to 10 p.m., there's so many other interesting things in this world. Let's have a conversation about something other than what's going on in business today.
Yeah. I think when you work for yourself, but also even just anybody, because you're always the CEO of your own life, right? You need the time to have the strategy and the insights.
Yeah.
If you're just working as part of a company, somebody else is doing that for you, right? They have the strategy, they tell you, and your job is to execute.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're an entrepreneur, you have to strategize and then execute. And I think it's good to separate the two.
Yeah.
So for me, the 9 to 6, the 9 to 5 is the execution. After that, or the weekend, is more of the strategy.
Yeah, I call that working on your business and working in your business. Yeah, I definitely take periods throughout my week where I'm like, okay, it's time to work on the business, and whether I'm, sitting with a friend and we're kind of going through some things, or I'm sitting at home and I'm reading a book or something, like I actively go, okay, this is time to work on the business. And then when it's time to go, okay, well, now we're in the business, let's get things going. And then as things pop up, I just make a little note of it and then put it in. I have a session of my day that I call noise, and that's where I deal with the things that aren't necessarily moving me forward. And it's like, okay, this right up here, I need to change this wording. Okay, cool. That's a good time to do that right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or somebody asks me something that's not related to what I need to do, good time to kind of follow up on that.
Yeah. But even if you work a 9 to 5, you work for somebody else, I still think you need that. I'm going to work on my life rather than I'm just going to be in my life reacting to stuff. And I think Sunday is a great day for that. It doesn't matter if you're religious or whatever. It's just a nice way to think the week is coming. Let's make sure that I set the direction of my week rather than my week happens to me.
Man, you said it so good, man. And I do that weekly as well, and I also do it yearly. I take some time towards the beginning of the year and I do something called a personal plan, and there's like a whole methodology behind it, but I sit there and I'd like map out what I want like my life to be and how I want to get towards these goals. And then it just becomes, what I find is it's so much easier when you've laid out what you need to do. I hate waking up in the morning and being like, what do I need to do today, right? Like take a couple minutes, the night before or whatever, and be like, this is kind of the goals this week, map them out. And I'm like, okay, start chipping at these things. Let's start knocking this stuff out and just stay dedicated to it.
I find it hard to do more long-term planning because probably beyond 6 months, it's like, I don't know what's going to happen. Every year of my life, I always look back at any given moment and I'll go, 1 year ago, I never could have guessed I'd be here doing this with this person.
Yeah, sure.
It's always the same. And it's kind of interesting because I just wonder, this time next year, where am I going to be sat?
Like I said, that's where I try to keep my North Star up there. And it's not super specific, right? It's never like you're going to wake up at this time, you're going to do this, that, and the other. There's some specifics in there, right? But it's not very specific. But I find that as long as I keep that North Star and I keep my value system up there, as I start to plan my next 6 months or whatever, I route everything through that. And so it keeps steering me at least generally in that direction. Because what I try to avoid is I want to avoid kind of jumping all over the place. I'm trying to get like consistent motion going forward, right? Couple percent, just get a little bit better. And just keep moving that way.
Yeah, that's why I've been not trying to, I hate it when people say that. That's why I am compressing my long-term goals, because, even if I don't need to have a certain house or whatever by now.
Yeah.
The pursuit of trying to do that quicker is going to stop me getting distracted.
Yeah.
It's going to keep me really focused and motivated and excited. Like, wow, I could do this.
It's 100%, man. And I take the same thing for my business too, right? Like once you have, obviously you run a business, you have business goals, right? And as I look at those goals, I go, okay, well, let's start breaking that down. You know, what does the next 30 days look like to get towards whatever that goal is there, and just chip away at it, you know, every day. And again, it probably changes, you know? So like when you're asking me, what is my business going to be in a couple of years? It might be very different. You know, a year from now, that thought process might be different. But I know I have some general goals that I'm just chipping away at. And as you reach them, or as you get close to them, you know, your eyes start to open a little bit wider, and you see, you know, other opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Whew. Feeling this one now.
Yeah, it's strong?
No, it's not, but it's big.
Yeah, this is a bigger cigar. I knew that I would like this cigar. I think I've smoked this one or one of its, you know, associated, similar cigar a couple times before, and I knew that I would like this. What are you making of the crown?
This is really nice, actually.
Yeah,
I really like it. It's very mild, actually.
Yeah.
It's very delicate. I can definitely see this is a great earlier in the day cigar. I probably would want a smaller size, honestly, if I was going to smoke this at lunchtime.
Yeah, fair.
But I really like it, yeah. This one, well, they both were on the aficionado list, as I said.
Amazing.
I just go in the store and I pull up that list and I say, what have you got?
Genius.
You know? Yeah.
I love where you're at in your cigar journey right now, like the curiosity and like willing to try a lot of things. And I think I'm still very curious, but I'm also a creature of habit. And like I've, you know, there's a few that I like to smoke, and like when in doubt, I just kind of reach for them. You know, I'm at a place where I'm trying to eliminate decisions, like eliminate unnecessary decisions. So I'm like, let me just get my usual, you know, but I do love that. And when I was a little bit earlier in my cigar journey, I was very much that way. Like, give me anything and everything. Let's try it all out. And then what I don't like, I'm probably not going to smoke again. And what I do like, I make a little note. Yeah. I wish I would have documented it better, though.
It kind of feels to me like when I was a kid, you know, I'd collect. Oh, mine's gone off. So let me just check that. You're still going. We should probably wrap it up fairly soon anyway, because we're at 1 hour 20.
Yeah. Oh, okay, sure.
But
then why don't we? That's a good break point. We see where they are, and then maybe we'll spend the last few minutes, and we can get into, if you want, we can steer some more opportunities to kind of like talk our businesses or things that are interesting to you. It doesn't have to be about the business, but just like weave any messages that you feel important about your business and the things that you're trying to change over the next, 3-6 months or whatever, and I can kind of do that a little bit too.
Yeah, that's a good one. There are some photos that I've kept on my phone for a long time. I'm like, I don't need this anymore.
There's an app that's like a game where like when you have free time, it just shows you random photos and you decide what to keep and what to delete.
Really? That's funny.
I gotta find the actual app, but I got an ad for it recently and it looked really, really interesting.
Somebody was telling me about an app that they paid for. It's an app that you buy and it like locks your phone at certain times.
I like that.
And I was thinking, isn't it like a bizarre paradox that we live in now where you buy an app on your phone that stops you being able to use your phone?
That seems so sketchy, dude. Yeah.
It's funny.
I'd rather just put your phone in another room.
You turn it off. Yeah.
Turn it off. Yeah, just put it somewhere where it's nowhere near.
I love turning mine off. I'm sure I piss people off sometimes. I've even had women think I blocked them because it won't deliver.
I turn off my personal phone, and even when I'm like, and I've been so focused on business recently, right? That like if you don't have my business phone number, I'm pretty hard to reach, and it's just been like, okay, well, that doesn't mean I don't like you. I'm just focused on like my life. Yeah. I'm focused on trying to get some things going.
I don't know if you use Bumble. It's the only dating app.
I don't use any apps. I'm not on any dating apps.
No, this is the only one I have. And what I do like about it is you can turn on a snooze mode and it asks you what's like the reason you're snoozing, and you can put focusing on work and it will show your matches. James is focusing on work right now.
That's clever. There's a lot of, damn, I didn't know Bumble was like that. I know the dating apps are like that.
I'm banned on Hinge for catfishing myself. Because a lot of my photos were like ones that I just would post online. And I didn't verify. And I contacted them like, by the way, it's me, and they just never replied. So I'm banned on that. Tinder I don't do because it's just,
Are you on like Raya?
No, they won't let me on.
They won't let you on?
Can you believe that?
What was the reasoning? They just like never...
Well, they just never accepted it. I don't get it. A bit of a douchebag. I emailed them. I was like, by the way, like this is my following.
Yeah.
Never replied. Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
But I'm not that bothered because from what I've heard about Raya, it's just like all the other ones. And a lot of the women that I know that are on Raya, or the people that I know that are on Raya, just regular people. Like it's no different.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
But I think what I do like about it is I'm not opposed to dating a little bit more long distance if it's a really good fit.
Yeah.
Like I believe in that match and that kind of soulmate connection to the point where I would compromise geographic location in the short term.
Sure.
So the ability to match with somebody that maybe not in Chicago is cool, but that's also what Instagram is for.
Yeah, like what's the difference, right? I guess I've never really been heavy on the apps. Like I think I was on Tinder when it first came out for like a month, you know, and it just never mattered to me. And what I found is that I have better connections with people when I meet them like kind of more organically.
Oh, me
at least
too.
and again, there's nothing wrong with online dating. It's just never been my thing, you know? But yeah, like if I meet somebody walking down the street I'm a friendly person too. So I'll just say hello. And it's not even necessarily like I'm flirting with you. Like sometimes I'm just saying like hello, you know?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are just not used to like communicating. You know?
I know.
I'll give you a good one. I was at a coffee shop. Now, mind you, I'm standing in line with some friends, and like some of the friends are like women, and things, so it's not like I'm just standing in line with a bunch of guys, right? And so I'm having a great day. I'm in a great mood, and so I'm being kind of silly, talking to my friends, talking to people in line, and there's this woman standing behind me. She's probably, you know, a year or two younger than me, all right? And so I'm like, how's your day going? Blah blah blah. She's like, it's great. This, that, and the other. I get up to the counter, and I go, you know, I'll have this coffee, and then whatever my friend behind me is having. Oh. And this woman was so like taken aback by me offering to buy her coffee. And I would assume that she probably assumed that I was flirting with her, and I genuinely was not. I was just like, buy a stranger a coffee that day. Yeah. But she was like so confused and so like, I don't know, she got like, I don't know if she got like red in the face or what, but she was just like, no, I'm okay. Like no, thank you. And I was like, okay, no problem.
Right.
You know? And so some people just aren't used to somebody just literally talking to them.
No,
you know?
They're really not. I think the main reason I use them is because I work by myself at home. I have to make a deliberate effort to go and socialize and to have those chance encounters. Yeah. Sometimes I just don't really have the time or the energy for it. You know, sometimes I just want to chill out at home at the end of the day. Yeah. So it is nice to do a little.
I don't really go out and like party like that, to be honest with you.
Either,
you know, I was in a club this weekend and I was so uncomfortable, you know, and I was there for an event and I was just like, oh, then maybe this just isn't my thing, you know, anymore.
I think there's a bit of a pressure as men of like, you should like this. You should want to go to the parties. You should want to go to the club. It's okay to just say, no, I don't actually like that.
When I think of my hobbies and the things that genuinely interest me, like clubbing is I don't even think it's on the list. You know what I mean? Like being in a club or going to a bar just to party. Now I'll go to a bar to have like a great cocktail, you know, or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like there's reasons why I'll go places, but I never look at it as just like, hey, I'm here to pick up women and get drunk. Like it's never even been a thought for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just coming back to business to wrap things up, what would you say are 3 things you would like to accomplish by the end of the year?
That's a great question, man. There's certain financial goals I'd like to hit by the end of the year. Like I'd like my business to generate X amount of revenue by the end of the year. And like I'm very much on pace to do that right now. So that's really good. Aside from that, what are some other things I want to do business-wise? I really want to work my processes. I've developed a lot of really brilliant processes. Mm-hmm. I really want to work my processes with some of my higher net worth clientele and just really sit with them and walk them through how my process works, you know? And the people that I have done it with, they love it. And I've been around enough jewelry stores and jewelry entities to understand that my process works really well, you know? And so I like the idea of sharing that. And so more opportunities to do that. And I have like a number in mind of what that looks like. And then my final one, like my big goal by the end of the year is there's a certain amount of engagement rings that I would like to make. Like ideally I'd like to make about 100 engagement rings every year. I'd like to do more, obviously, but in a perfect world, that's the number that I'm shooting for. And the reason why I chose engagement rings specifically is because to me, I love the idea that I'm making something that somebody cherishes forever. And so the fact that I can do that 100 times, like that is a big deal to me in my bit. Like that makes me very passionate to know that my business has intimately involved itself with one of the most expensive and important purchases of like 100 different couples, you know, every year. And so for me, it's like, I can keep saying that like, these are people that I have meaningful, you know.
And the biggest decision.
Yeah, it's a huge decision.
They're ever making.
Yeah, huge decision, you know. And so I take that extremely personally, and that's where I'm like, that's always a goal of mine. Do this for, you know, 100 people.
This is England really in one photo. This is my dad. My dad just sends me random photos, no context. Look at the price of that beer.
That's incredible. That? What is that in American? Like $4?
About $3.20.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, where do they do that at?
It's not a very nice place, to be fair. But
okay. If you like the beer, it doesn't matter what the place looks like.
When I was in university, so there's this is not very Gen Z, but there's this chain of pub in the UK called Wetherspoons.
Wetherspoons, okay.
And there's probably over 100 of them just in the UK. And the reason it's called Wetherspoons is because the guy that started it, his name is not Wetherspoon, but he had a teacher when he was in school, Mr. Wetherspoon, that told him, you will never amount to anything, you'll always be a loser. So when he founded his business empire as a fuck you,
incredible,
he called it Wetherspoons.
I've had a teacher say that to me before.
Really?
I had a coach actually say something like that
to me in
high school.
I just don't understand the mindset of any like person who's in a mentorship position to do the complete opposite of that.
You know what I think it is, honestly? I think as I've gotten older, I've obviously realized that we're all growing and getting older, right? And so we all sometimes say things we don't mean, and you know, we all make mistakes. And I think that when I look at that interaction with that coach, it was in a sporting context. I think that I was frustrating him, and I don't think it was frustrating in terms of like I was antagonizing him. I just think that, you know, he was a coach for the opposite. It was a football practice, so he's a coach for the opposite side. And so I think that I was having a particularly good day, and I was being, you know, I was pumping up my chest, kind of talking some crap, you know, and like there was no other way for them to stop it, right? And I think that when you get somebody so frustrated that you're kind of having your way and they can't figure out how to steer it the other way, people start to go below the belt. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, it's a reaction.
Yeah, and I think that coach ultimately apologized to me, and you know, I don't think he meant any harm by it, but it was a big deal to me at that time. But I have forgiven the coach, but I've never forgotten how I felt in that moment. And sometimes I go back into that place in my mind of understanding, oh, this person made you feel this way, like try to channel that in a positive manner.
Use it in a good way.
Yeah. So I've forgiven that human. I have no issues with that human. But that feeling in that moment, I've never forgotten that moment.
I feel the same way about a romantic situation that happened when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
I'll leave you with this one.
Okay. All right.
So I'm 4 years old and I have a crush on this girl called Ophelia.
Okay.
And on Valentine's Day, my mom drives me. I've written a card. She drives me to her house and I put the card through the letterbox. Next day at school in the playground. And it's funny because, like, obviously, you know, we were both 4 years old, but I can imagine what she looks like now, and she would be my exact type that I go for.
Sure.
So I think this was like a very psychologically
it started
impactful event.
Yeah.
And she comes up to me, and I'm going, oh gosh, you know, she got the card, and she goes, yeah, I got the card. Yeah, I don't like you. I like Ralph over there.
Oh no.
And she just laughed and walked away. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. And to
that
this
would be
day,
crushing.
Yeah, and now it's like, well, if Ophelia could see me now.
Yeah, she might like you, yeah. What if her and Ralph are married now?
I don't know. I'm sure my mom could find out on Facebook, you know.
The old yearbook photo or something. That's amazing.
Ren,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Absolute
Thank you
pleasure.
for having me. This is
really
great.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you, man. This is awesome.